Good evening, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host, Dhakir Dawood, and I'm going to be taking you through the next hour talking all things sport for you. I'm your host, Dhakir Dawood. The producer of the show goes by the name of Salilo Makwadiri, and we've got Sadiq at the back controlling everything, making sure that the airwaves are coming crisp and clear to you, whether you're tuning in on Facebook or via radio. I hope that we keep you engaged for the next hour. If you want to interact with us and engage with us, you can get hold of us on WhatsApp on 061 766 0355, or you can get hold of us on our studio line on 010 880 2396. For those of you that are glued to your phones and always have the cybersphere at the tip of your fingers, you can tweet us at Salam Media, or also drop a comment in the comment section below on Facebook. For those of you tuning in on Facebook, interact with us, engage with us, tell us some of your thoughts on the topics that we're going to be chatting about tonight. Tonight, we're going to be chatting about a few interesting topics. We've got hope, we've got inspiration on the one side, and on the other, a bit of a dull moment. South Africa sent packing by Netherlands just last week, and we're going to unpack a bit of that in the show with Ismail Taladia, who's going to tell us how he thinks everything unfolded and what went wrong. And also give us a bit of insight on what we can expect in this week's final, where Pakistan will be taking on England in the final of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, which is taking place in Australia. Well, after that, we're going to chat all things football. It is an all-African affair this evening. We're going to be chatting to football journalist from Ghana, Mickey Jr., who will be giving us his insights on what the African teams have done to prepare for the World Cup. And he's also going to give us some news on the World Cup that is just over a week away and how the African teams are preparing. Quick note on that. Did you know that all the African teams that are in the World Cup are coached by African coaches? This is the first. And I think it's a step in the right direction for African football as a whole and African coaches. But for now, we're joined by Ismail Taladia. That's going to give us our insight that we need to know on cricket and what we can expect in the final of the ICC T20 final taking place on Sunday. Assalamu alaikum, Ismail, and thanks for joining me on Salam Media.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Zakir, and to your listeners. I'm going to take a two-pronged approach to the discussion before we get to Sunday's final. The first part is going to be the South African team and the fact that we lost to the Netherlands. And so in terms of understanding sort of what went wrong, and people keep talking about South Africa being chokers when it comes to ICC competitions, but in my mind, I think in this particular instance, it wasn't the issue of choking, but rather an issue of bad selection and the issue of the captaincy and the coaching staff not getting it right when it came to the final selections of the team. So first and foremost, the one problem that I have is with the convener of selectors who made a decision even before the tournament started that the captain is the first name that will go onto the team sheet. So irrespective of whether the captain was informed or the captain was not informed, his name was going to be first on the team sheet. And so we had a situation where an not informed Timber Bavuma was chosen ahead of an informed Reza Hendricks. Now, one of the things that we need to understand when we're talking about sport is that your informed player in any major event is the guy that you call on to first because you expect him or her to perform for you in a particular event. And in this instance, the coach and the selector got it completely wrong in terms of continuing to play a Temba Bavuma when you had a Reza Hendricks in your team who was the informed batsman. Now, let us look at the statistics of that, and we say that Reza Hendricks had scored 450s prior to the World Cup tournament, and that he had in fact won the Man of the Series award when they played against England. And then you come with a Temba Bavuma who comes off an injury, hasn't played much cricket, and then is pushed directly into the World Cup team. So that is where South Africa already got it wrong. On the final day, playing against the Netherlands, Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So one of the issues, on the day that they played the Netherlands, the South African selectors and the coach got it completely wrong. One, they were not bold enough to play two spinners, and we know that the Sydney pitch and the Adelaide pitch are spinner friendly. So instead of taking both Tabrei Shamsi and Kishev Maharaj as your first choice spinners into that final match, and play Kagiso Rabada on the bench, or play um, the left arm bowler, play him on the bench. They decided to go with four seam bowlers because that is what South Africa's strength is. And I think that is where they got it wrong again in terms of not playing Tabrei Shamsi as the second spinner in that match against the Netherlands. So those two issues are, to me, probably the fundamentals in terms of South Africa not being able to perform at the level that we wanted them to perform. And it is criminal, in fact, that South Africa is not playing in the final or didn't play in the semi-finals over the past 2 days. So that has brought in Pakistan. And so Pakistan, who were basically dead and buried, who should not have been in the semi-finals at all, they got a sort of a wild card back into the tournament. And they could easily walk because the Pakistani team with the two opening batsmen, Baba Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, looking in good form. They're beginning to get form, and there's a strong possibility that that form is going to be carried into Sunday's final. And then they have a very good bowling attack with Haris Rauf being in excellent form. Shaheen Afridi has come back very strongly, and the youngster Nazim Shah is also bowling extremely well. So I'm excited about the Pakistani team for Sunday, and I think that Pakistan could definitely pull one over the English team. I think that even though Josh Butler and Alex Hales were in prolific form yesterday, I think if the Pakistani bowlers would take up one or either both of them, that they will definitely have England under pressure. The fact that England don't have a very strong middle order with David Malan not being available to create some kind of stability, a lot is going to be depend on Ben Stokes. And Ben Stokes, unfortunately, hasn't been in any form in this particular World Cup. So the pressure is going to be on that England middle order if the Pakistanis were to get through that top order, the two opening batsmen. And I must say, I mean, that was a bold call by the English to drop Jason Roy and bring Alex Hales back. And Alex Hales hasn't played for England in quite a while. In fact, he was in the wilderness probably for about 3 years when he was brought back. And he came back with a bang in terms of being in prolific form in this particular World Cup. And so that is where the South African selectors have not been bold enough in one, playing four players, and secondly, to make the calls instead of being the orthodox, classical following. We always have been good with seam bowlers, and we're now afraid to select two spin bowlers. So it is disappointing. It speaks to the malaise in South African cricket, and it's something that we definitely need to look at in terms of taking the sport forward and taking our rightful place as one of the top cricket playing nations.
But Ismail, looking at this and just seeing the performances of South Africa, they started like a house on fire. They were definitely the team to beat in this World Cup. Going into the World Cup, nobody thought they would be the team to beat. But I mean, after their opening performances and the fact that they set the standards so high early on in the group stages, um, where do you think the wheels fell off? Was it just the old age World Cup taboo that South Africa have? They just can't seem to perform in World Cups.
No, I don't think that was the case. I think in this particular instance, the fact that the selectors and the coach failed to drop Temba Bavuma was a contributing factor. I think as the tournament was moving on, one could almost sense because of what was happening outside the team and the pressure that was coming from the public. And I think the players felt that pressure that Timba wasn't there on merit, and that he wasn't living up to the standard of what is expected of the captain. And so I think that's where South Africa got it wrong.
But
I think
sometimes, as well, many would say that it doesn't come down to merit in terms of captaincy. It comes down to his leadership skills that is brought to the field. And many a times, it's his leadership skills have shown in matches bringing South Africa through. But do you think that when it comes to T20 shorter format of the game, everybody has to bring their part regardless of the emotional support that you bring for the team?
well, I think there's two things that we need to look at in this particular instance. One is that in the shorter format of the game, you require all 11 players to be firing. But the second part of what you're saying in terms of his leadership skill, Keshav Maharaj has been excellent in terms of captaining the ODI team or the T20 team. And I think David Miller has also put up his hand when he was asked to stand in as captain. So I don't think there is an issue around leadership within the team. I think there is enough guys to have been able to step in and take South Africa forward. And so I don't necessarily buy into the fact that Timba's leadership skills was there and should have been taken into consideration in terms of him holding his place. I mean, I think they got it wrong. And if he was a captain and he knows what the playing fields are like, especially in Adelaide, then he should have pushed the coach to make the call on leaving out one of the seam bowlers. So Kagiso Rabada, even though he is one of our top bowlers, he wasn't performing as well, and I would have had no problem if he was left out in favour of Tabrei Shamsi, because against the Netherlands, one, and number two, when you're playing on a spinner-friendly pitch, then you must be playing your two frontline spinners. This is an important fixture for you. And the Netherlands batting is not as strong against spin bowling as they are against your seamers, and so that is where I think if you just trying to justify his place in the team, then I think you got it wrong there as well.
Well, it's an interesting one to see how this one unfolds because it's 2022, and do we still see administrative issues overruling the performances on the pitch? And played a direct role in it. One would we'd leave that to the administrators and to the coaches themselves. Us as the general public and broadcasters would just have to be asking the questions because it keeps us wondering. 2022,
Yeah.
how long are we still going to let those issues rule the game and directly impact the performance of the team?
Well. I mean, if you listen to what the coach had said after the match, he said his team were already flat the morning of the match. Now, for me, that is an indictment against the coach when he acknowledges that his team was flat before the match started. Now, as a coach, I would have already done something in order to hype the team. I mean, this is a fixture, it's a World Cup fixture, and you cannot go into a game with your players low on energy. I mean, you need to find a spark in order to get your players to think about what is happening in order for them to move forward. So that to me was an indictment and something that, again, it is those things that we need to eradicate from our sport. The other concern for me is the fact that Victor Mtetsang, the convener of selectors, he should never have been in a position to say that Prince Themba Bavuma is the captain, his name is first on the score sheet. Unacceptable. I think it's about form, it is about players, these are professionals, and if you're in form, then you should be getting the go-ahead of any other player in your squad.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. And I mean, you brought up such a valid point there about the coach and the players. And just looking at this, do you think that the fact that this was Boucher's last game or last tournament in charge of the team, knowing the stories that have been surrounding him and going on around him in the build up to this tournament. Do you think that had a
No,
direct impact on the performance?
No, absolutely, and I think the other concern for me, just around South African sport in general, is the fact that we suddenly have this issue about having when we talk transformation, that our coaches and our managers must all be black, and I'm saying that shouldn't be the case. We should be looking on at merit. We've been 29 years into unification, and so if there's an Indian or a colored or a black, then we should be looking broader than just plain black. And so I'm using that terminology because that is how people see transformation, and that is not healthy for our sport. I mean, I watched the Springbok Sevens last week. They now have a new coach, and the coach is black. And out of 5 games, we only won 1 game. I mean, it speaks to the issue of that when we're talking transformation, it cannot just be about a black person taking the position, but we should be looking at merit selection all the way.
You've got a valid point. You've got a valid point there. Quite a valid point there. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to think about going forward, and I think many South Africans moving forward from this can keep this in mind. But looking forward at the final that will be taking place this weekend, who's your money on, and is it Pakistan or will England be taking it home finally?
Well, if I was a betting man, I would be betting against Pakistan, and if the Pakistan team would pitch up on Sunday, then England have no chance. I just think that Pakistani team is laden with talent, and I think that Pakistani team is definitely going to show up on Sunday, and they're going to beat England. So there's no debate in terms of where my bias is, and so I'm rooting for Pakistan on Sunday.
Well, we're going to hold you to that because next week we're going to look forward to unpacking the final, and we want to hear your thoughts exactly on how this one unfolded. If England do win, you're going to have a whole lot of explanations in place to defend your decision, and let's see how this one unfolds because Pakistan have been a team of two sides. This tournament.
The point is that they have shown some consistency over the past 2 years. I think they've got an excellent leader in Baba Azam, who not only is an astute leader, but he is also a player with tremendous talent. And I think that the fact that he is leading this team, it's a pretty young team, and so I've got all the confidence that Pakistan is going to do magic on Sunday.
No, definitely.
And if that doesn't happen, then I will give you an explanation as to why that didn't happen.
Definitely looking forward to that one. Ismail, thanks so much for your time this evening. We're going to wrap it up there. It's all that we have time for. Unfortunately, this evening, this conversation could go on for days. But thanks for your time this evening. We really, really appreciate it. Your insight and your views were much appreciated on the show, giving South Africa a broader outlook on the game.
Shukran, and assalamu alaikum to you and to your listeners. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
Afwan, shukran so much. That was Ismail Taladia giving us his analysis on what went down at the T20 World Cup performance by the Proteas, and also looking into the tournament as a whole, just to see everything that was happening, how things were unfolding, the teams that were performing and those that underperformed. Interesting take. Funny enough, we've got one of the underperformers in the final in Pakistan, and England, who have been consistently chipping away at the tournament, they now find themselves in the final. And who knows, will it be going to England or will it be going to Pakistan? We'll have to wait until Sunday to find out. But for the rest of you, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick ad break. When we do come back, we're going to be chatting all things football. The FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 looms close to us, and we're going to be chatting to Mickey Jr., who's going to be telling us what we can expect from our African nations at this World Cup.